Time for us to wander the world. And if you were listening last week, listening to our conversation about travel trends for 2026, you might have heard our contributor Alison Fote mention how the concept of wellness travel is being seen as one of the big growth areas for the year. We're talking here about either longer holidays or just short breaks that are specifically designed to offer physical and mental health benefits. This is not the kind of trip that is about traveling to see how many countries you can visit, how many big attractions you can tick off your list, catching up with lots and lots of friends and family on a whirlwind sort of social visit. It's quite the opposite. We are talking about slowing down, about setting time aside for yourself to breathe and to just be in the world and to take stock of where you are and who you are and what your life is like, and just take a proper break from it all to reset and reboot, if you like. And I really can't think of a better example than today's destination, which we are featuring, which is a high-end retreat in the Cederberg called Bliss and Stars. And it was born out of a European couple's personal quest for a quieter, simpler life, recognizing that they had sort of got themselves onto a treadmill that they didn't want to be on for the rest of their lives. And it led to them stepping away from a very busy and productive life in Copenhagen in Denmark and coming to South Africa, where they have found a new sense of peace and purpose in the middle of the Cederberg Mountains at the long end of a dusty road. What they have created there is something very, very special. And if anybody listening has already experienced it for themselves, we would love to hear from you. If you have been lucky enough to experience Bliss and Stars, we would love to hear from you on our WhatsApp line 072 567 1567. Tell us what it was like for you, what you valued about the experience. I have lost sight of my guests on the Zoom line, but I know that they are there, and I'm hoping we will be able to hear them as we welcome to South Africa the founders of Bliss and Stars, Heine and Daria Rasmussen, who are joining us via Zoom this afternoon. It's great to have you on the show, and thank you so much for joining us.
Thanks for having us, and good day to the listeners.
Hi, Pippa.
Nice to chat to you, and so glad we're hearing you loud and clear. Thank heavens for that. Let's start at the very beginning of your story. Daria, tell us about your life before you came to South Africa. What was it that you were doing? What was your life like? And what was it about that life that made you have this moment of pause and go, I think we want to do this differently? Tell us the backstory.
Oh, yeah, going back to those times. So I have my background working in marketing and advertising. I spent over 2 decades. Very fast-paced and exciting life in so many ways. I work for global corporations. I've been traveling a lot and, learning a lot, meeting lots of exciting people. Also working too much. The demands were very high, but for me it was this realization one day that it was waking up every morning and it felt like I was a Sisyphus, like I had to climb the mountain every day, and my career was progressing, but it was the sense that I had to work hard for it, in the sense that there was something was not right, and I couldn't put a finger on it, right? It was just this the feeling that was nagging me until one day I went to silent retreat myself, and I spent 48 hours in silence, and I had this really profound understanding that for me this life no longer gave meaning, and I wasn't truly living up to my values and what mattered to me. So this was what started my journey of slowly untangling myself from that world of of corporations and career.
Okay. And Heine, what about you? An astrophysicist, was it written in the stars for you? Where were you on this sort of map at the time that Daria was going through this realization?
Well, I'm very fortunate that in order to do a project like we did, you have to be not just on the same page of the book, you have to be on the same line. And we were very much aligned. I grew up on this tiny little island in Denmark with just 3,500 inhabitants. Nature was always present. There wasn't that much light pollution back then in the 70s. So I started my love with the stars very early on. And that took me to the big cities to study astrophysics and engineering. I spent a few decades in corporate, but the stars was always my zen space, my space to stay sane in the corporate world. And I was very fortunate to work for a very progressive company. They had focused not just on the financials and the business sides, but also on the human sides. So they introduced mindfulness, and we went on a long mindfulness journey in the course of 6 to 8 months, where we would take a few days every month, go into a retreat center in the forest, and that gave me that last bit of courage that I needed to find the big stick, put it into the hamster wheel, and live the dream. I always missed nature. Denmark is a small place, and Copenhagen is not that big, so you can pack the car and drive an hour and be in nature.
Yeah.
You're spotted in the very much same way in South Africa, especially in Cape Town. But it's quite overcast up north, so we had to look south to find the clear stars.
We know South Africa is sorry to interrupt. I was going to say, we know South Africa's skies and stargazing opportunities are globally sought after. Was that the reason you looked here this far south, or had you had the experience of visiting South Africa previously that had introduced you to the wide open spaces and skies that you might find here?
We came to South Africa first time in 2010, actually, for surfing.
Okay.
It is another reason to South Africa, right? But we just fell in love with people, with the country, with the open spaces. It was something we cried at the airport, leaving this country, and we felt like we left the piece of our heart. So once we started discussing what are we gonna do with our lives now, because we felt both, we're done with corporate, what we're doing. South Africa was, of course, on the list. And yeah, that was for Heine, it was definitely a night sky.
Yeah, our love affair with South Africa so early on. So even when I was back in corporate, I started to plot in coordinates across the country where I would imagine that astronomy would be world-class levels. And I started every day, I would plot in the data from the astronomy forecasts. So I already at that time had an idea. So later on, when we did have the courage to quit our jobs, just before we did that, we took 1 month's holiday, went on a 1 month road trip just to see what's out there and to feel, is it still South Africa or must we look other places? And yeah, it was just confirming us that, that was the place to go.
And for me, it has always felt, and it feels in South Africa, like I always laugh and say, it feels that the sky, there is more space between earth and sky compared to Europe, that you have much more space and openness, that you can, more freedom in so many ways too, when you go out into this beautiful nature. Yeah.
It's lovely. It's so refreshing to hear that, because I think we often take for granted the space that we have grown up knowing as our normal. And sometimes it takes a change of perspective and traveling to another country and seeing how on top of each other people live and the small spaces that people inhabit to make us realize how privileged we are to have so much open space in South Africa. So you packed up your bags, you resigned your jobs, you sold everything and moved to South Africa. How did you end up coming to open a retreat called Bliss and Stars 2 hours down a dirt road deep in the Cederberg? Did you find the property on that road trip you were talking about? How did it happen?
No, well, we already knew what we wanted to do. So the concept of Bliss and Star was already there, but we didn't know where to do it. We just knew that we had to go off the beaten track. We had to escape the light pollution and find a place with an abundance of clear skies. And at that month trip, or that 1 month long road trip, we reached out to some real estate agents. One of them became a good friend, and she ended up having the listing that is now our home. We didn't visit it initially, though.
Yeah.
We were road for 4.5 months, visiting countless farms. And we ended up being in this region, and we thought, let's just go off the beaten track and see what is at the end of that jeep track. And I'm very, very happy that we did.
And you found...
Let me tell you, people, we're we were pretty ignorant back then, we left offices, cozy, safe Copenhagen, and it's like, we're just gonna conquer the world and build a retreat. And little we've known that, we had this idea that we're gonna find this place where there will be 5 cottages and like big house. We're just gonna renovate it, and this will happen. So yes, Heine said we traveled quite a lot, and we ended up here.
We never found that place. So instead, we started to look for a blank canvas. And I think I would almost say it's a requirement that you have to be a little bit crazy. You have to be lucky, and you have to believe in it, and you have to bring some skills as well. And you have to meet the right people who can help you to make it happen.
Yeah. Because
the place we ended up finding in some ways it doesn't make sense. You can never get a truck here. When people arrive here and they see the place, they wonder, how on earth did you build this? Because you have to be crazy. Everything has to be driven at least an hour off-roading with buggies. You can never get a truck anywhere near. All materials have to be carried by hand to the sites. It has to be a passion project in order to succeed. And, you'll build up so much resilience and so much momentum that whatever hurdle is thrown at you, you will plow through or over. But if you know what ride you're up for before you start, you might give up. So ignorance can also be bliss, because we had no ideas how it would be. And a lot of people their heads and say, no, these guys are never going to. But we proved them wrong.
We are in conversation with Daria and Heine Rasmussen, who are the founders and creators of Bliss and Stars. It's a natural retreat in the heart of the Cederberg, where you get away from it all and take the time to breathe, to look at the night skies through telescopes, to spend time in nature and just get away from the daily routines and rat race of it all. Now, just with 3 minutes left, we must tell our audience what you have created in terms of a visitor experience. If someone comes to spend a retreat with you, and there are different packages offering different kinds of retreats depending on what you're looking for. But can you just sketch for us, Daria, what is the visitor experience like? What will they find when they arrive at Bliss and Stars?
They find a lot of nature for sure, but what we have created, it's, we call it retreat, we call it sanctuary, but basically what we created a pause for people, a space, a place, a space in time where people can come and literally push a stop button, and everything that they know from everyday life, it just stops. There is no mobile coverage. There is no Wi-Fi here, right? So that's already profound, big game changer for people. And our retreats are built on a very, very simple premises, right? We take care of mind and body, and it all happens in the setting of nature. So our programs will include elements of breath work, meditation, somatic work, nervous system regulation, movement, and as well, whole the nature aspect that Heine is driving.
Yeah, we use nature as a force as well with the night sky as a big reset button, just to put everything in perspective. We visit rock art sites on the farm, swim in wild rivers, just do all these things that you might have done as a kid, but bring that back. I believe we are playing way too little as grown-ups.
Oh, I absolutely echo that. This sounds like the most beautiful place to play. The last thing I want to mention is you're also encouraged to play with your food on a different kind of level. You talk about nourishing the mind and body. I know you've just released an updated edition of the cookbook, which celebrates your plant-based diet at Bliss and Stars. Was that a hard sell? Did some visitors arrive going, I'm South African, I want meat and potatoes on my plate next to the vegetables?
You bet, it happened. So before we started, we've been told, like, you are not serving meat, you have no Wi-Fi. We also don't serve alcohol in this place. So you're never gonna survive a day in South Africa. But we proved wrong. And yes, of course, for many people, it's a bit of, big step to actually come for a weekend to a place when there is no meat. And sometimes people may have some ideas of what is retreat food or vegetarian food. We think salads, steamed broccoli. But, in collaboration with our chef, we have decided to just bring again joy to eating vegetables and showcase what is possible. So, we're not interested in preaching to people about vegetarianism or veganism, but actually, again, surprising people and giving them different experience compared to what they know back at home. So we have, over the 5 years we've been here, we had quite a few converts, and we often get emails, especially from South African men, that very proudly let us know that they eat meat but less, but they have more vegetables on the plate.
I'm not surprised, having looked at the book, which is called Eat, Thrive, Repeat by Chef Apelele Dlungana. It is full of just the most delicious looking and really elegant, beautiful food. So if you are leaning towards vegetarianism or wanting to get a little bit more experimental and raise your veggie game a little bit, I highly recommend you look out for a copy of the cookbook as well as booking yourself a visit. We must wrap up the conversation, unfortunately, but the last thing I'd love to share with our audience members is that if they would like to come and experience this experience of Bliss and Stars for themselves, where should they reach out to you to find out more about your pricing, your offerings, your retreat structures, etc.? Is your website the best place to go for information?
Yes, the website is definitely the best place to go, which is at blissandstars.com. They can find all the information they need, and as well our contact details. So if they would like to know more.
Blissandstars.com. It's about a 4 to 4.5 hour drive from Cape Town, depending on which scenic route you choose to pursue, but it will feel like a million miles away from everyday life by the sounds of things. It's been a huge pleasure to chat to Daria and Heine Rasmussen, the founders of this exquisite retreat, and I hope I get the opportunity to come and experience it for myself one day and see those beautiful night skies. Thank you so much for making time to join us this afternoon.